In today's class, we will see functions, we will define what a function is, we will see varieties of functions, what is a injection, what is a surjection, what is a bijection, and we will see various operations that we can do on functions. And basically in computer science, functions will be used at a number of places. One example is when you have got a problem and that problem can be solved in a number of, can be solved using a number of algorithms. Now the point is, if you got a number of algorithms, which is better? Which is better with reference to, with respect to the space that it takes in computer, that takes in the memory, and the running time. So I would like to know of the algorithms that we have got, what is a better algorithm that I can use so that I can optimize space and time. To do this kind of analysis, generally we do asymptotic notation, we introduce asymptotic notation and all. There the knowledge of functions help immensely. Not only this place, there are a number of other places where you should have a sufficient knowledge of functions. Basically, we all know what a function is, as most of you might have studied calculus. You know what a real valued function is. A real valued function basically is something like this. F you denote like this, from set of real numbers to set of real numbers. You say, when you say x is equal to x plus y, this is a real valued function because it takes the real number and it gives you another real number. You all are aware of this particular thing. If I take 2, what is f of 2? F of 2 will be 7 if I define f of x is equal to x plus y. This is what a real valued function. This notion can be generalized, saying that if you have got any two sets A and B, you can assign a value, an object or an element in B to an element in A. All the elements A will be mapped with an element of B, and this particular mapping is called a function. It's nothing more than that. Basically what I am trying to say here is, we say that a function f from A to B, which is denoted generally by this f of A to B, f from A to B. What here we are doing is, we are assigning a value of B to an element of A. You take an element x in A and you associate a value like fx to this guy, and this fx is in B. And here only one thing what one should understand is that when you define a function, it has to be defined for all the elements of A. When I say f is a function from A to B, f is a function from A to B, f is a function from A to B, it is a function only if every element should have a corresponding element in B. You should have to map an element in B for each and every element of A, and a single element in A, any element in A cannot have two different images in B. You cannot say that f of A is equal to B and you cannot say that f of A is equal to C. This is not okay if B and C are distinct. A function to be well defined, an element in A should have only one corresponding value in B. If an element in A is having two elements that have been assigned to it, then it ceases to be a function, rather it is not a well defined function. And one more thing, all the elements in A should be mapped with the corresponding elements of B. If these two conditions are satisfied, we call this mapping is called a function. You can have a number of ways of representing it. You can say that this is the set A, this is set B. You say that A is mapped to B, and you have got all the elements of set A as this and elements of B as this. Then elements of A will have corresponding images in B, then you just represent it. This is also okay, and we all are very much familiar with this kind of representation by graph. This might be a graph something like fx is equal to x plus 5 or x square plus 2 or whatever it is, where you got x values here and fx values being plotted in the y-axis. Then you get a graph like this. And if you carefully see, the prepositions that we have defined in our first class, in our second lecture, can be seen as a function from situations to truth value. If I define a preposition as it is raining is a preposition, and depending on the situation at a given point of time, at a given point of place, I can find out its truth value. So this kind of mapping from a preposition to the truth value is also a function. So preposition is basically a function that is acting upon situations to the truth values, that is true and false. And if you carefully observe, there is one more function that we have already seen, that is propositional operator. Operator also is nothing but a function. If you have got an operator called R, what it basically takes is, it takes an ordered pair. It takes, say, ordered pair like true or false, and this particular function operates on it and will define its value as true. And for 4 different values, in this case true or 2 is true, or of true, false comma true is true, or of false comma false is false. These are operators. That is how we have studied, that is how we have studied in propositional logic. Yes, definitely they are operators, but if you carefully observe, they are functions as well. They are functions acting from ordered pairs of truth values. These are all ordered pairs of truth values. What are they? False comma true is an ordered pair, true comma false is an ordered pair, true comma true is an ordered pair, false comma false an ordered pair. You got all these ordered pairs, and this operator or function R is taking an ordered pair and it is associating a value from the set true or false. That is what we are doing here, isn't it? You take an ordered pair and associate a value true or false to it. Hence the operator that you have seen in your propositional logic is nothing but a function from ordered pairs of truth values to truth values, like this. Basically this is a function that is acting on ordered pair, and you are getting a truth value. For that matter, any operator you can see as a function from ordered pairs to truth values. Another important thing is a predicate. How do you define a predicate? We define predicate something like Px is x is sleeping. This is a predicate, isn't it? This is the example that we have taken. This is a predicate. and universe of discourse happens to be in this case a set of all human beings. Now if you carefully observe, this predicate itself can be viewed as a function from set of objects or from the universe of discourse to prepositions. Why I am saying is, say universe of discourse, say we will represent it as u, here we will call it as u. You take u to the prepositions. So I am calling the predicate P as a function because when predicate is applied on an element in the universe of discourse, what I get is a preposition. What do I mean by this? When I take an element in the universe of discourse, say Krishna, and when I apply predicate onto it, what I will get is, in place of X is sleeping, I substitute Krishna. Krishna is sleeping, what I get? That is nothing but a preposition. So I take an object here and I am getting a preposition over here. Hence predicate is basically a function from the set of all objects or universe of discourse to prepositions. And similarly, you have got a bit string, say something like this. You say you have got a bit string. You know what a bit string is? This is a bit string of length 3, isn't it? This can also be seen, if you call this bit string as b, this can also be seen as a function. This is basically a function that is acting from this is basically a function acting from 1 2 3 2 0 1. What I mean here is, this can be equivalently represented by this particular function. How I am defining this function? F of 1 is equal to 1. That means first position I am putting 1. F of 2 is equal to 0. F of 3 is equal to 1. That means in the first position, because I am considering a bit string of length n, so I will have 3 slots. Hence I am taking this particular set as 1 2 3, and I have to represent this bit as a function. In this bit string, my first position is having 1, so the first position in this particular set should also be 1, so I say that f of 1 is equal to 1. Second position I am putting 0, so I am defining f of 2 as 0. Third position in the bit string is taking 1 as its value, hence I define my function to be as f of 3 is equal to 1. Now actually this bit string is nothing but this particular function. So every bit string that you can define, you can see it as a function as well. And similarly, if you have got a function nicely defined from 1 to n to where the range happens to be 0 comma 1, you get a corresponding bit string. Why we are seeing this is, all these are basically discrete objects. Whether you say it is a predicate, whether you say it is a bit string, whether you say function, all these things, when you say set, all these things are discrete objects. So what I want to make here is, though they look like different objects, actually one can be replaced by other discrete object. In this case, when you give me a bit string like 101, I can always say no, it is not a bit, it can be equivalently represented by a function that is acting from 1 2 3 to 0 1, and I define function like this. Then this function is actually equivalent or the same as the bit string 101. Here another thing, if I have got a universe of discourse is U and say it is 1, 2, 3, 4, if this is the universe of discourse, then every subset of this universe, every set in this universe of discourse, I can equally represent it as a function. Say, obviously you say that if I say A is a set in the is a subset of this particular universe of discourse 2, 4, it is definitely a subset. What I am saying here is, instead of saying this as a set, I can say it as a, I can define it in terms of function as well. How I define it is, I will define a function f from u to true or false, and I define it like this: f of 1 is equal to false, f of 2 is equal to true, f of 3 is equal to true, f of 4 is equal to false. F of 4 is equal to false. When I define it like this, basically this function is actually corresponding to this subset, isn't it? I say true when that element is there, I say false when that element is not there. This is the understanding. When I define my set like this, actually this function is nothing but this particular subset. So if you got a universe of discourse, all the sets in this universe of discourse can be equivalently represented as functions. So set notation can be taken out and still you can survive with function notation, absolutely no problem. They are really equivalent discrete objects. You need to define the function appropriately, the way we have defined it in this case. Because my subset happens to be, my set happens to be 2, 4, I define f of 1 is equal to false, because 1, this particular element is not there in the set that I want. I say I define it false. F of 2 is true, f of 3 is true, f of 3 should be defined as false, and f of 4 should be defined as true. When I define this way, this function is actually representing the subset 2, 4. Again, the operators that we have seen in the previous class, the union, the intersection, the negation operators can also be nothing but functions that are acting from pair of sets to sets, isn't it? When you say intersection of 1, 3 and 3, 4 is 3, basically intersection can be seen as a function from set of all sets, Cartesian product set of all sets, to the set. Basically any set operator, binary set operator or unary set operator like union or intersection, can be viewed as a function from pairs of sets. They take a pair of sets and gives another set, isn't it? When you take pair of sets like 1, 3 and 3, 4, you are getting another set. That is how the operators work. Similarly, you can define a function from the Cartesian product of sets to the set. That is how you can define it. So any operator actually be replaced by the function. Let us see now some terminology that is there around these functions. When you have got a function that is defined from a to b, when f is a function from a to b, we say a is the domain, b is the codomain, and when you define for the element a B is as f of A, then you say B is the image of A or equal and A is pre-image of B under the function that we are considering, and the range has been defined as all the elements in B who has got pre-images in A or equivalently or can be represented as set of all B such that this element B should have a pre-image or there should be an element A such that f of A is equal to B. All such elements constitute this domain, this range, and some people call the signature of f is from A to B also equivalently for a function. If you observe, the range of a function might not be its whole codomain. What I mean by this is, I take a simple function from set of all integers to set of all natural numbers, I include 0 to it. I define my function like this: f of x is equal to mod x. This is the function I am defining. This is very much a function because I am defining f for all the values of z. Now, what is the range of f in this case? I define a function from from set of integers to set of integers. This is set of integers to integers, and I define the function like this: f of x is equal to mod x. Then what is the range of f here in this case? The range of f in this case is 0, 1, 2, 3, so on. Okay. What is the codomain? Because for every value of z, if the value of if the element that I consider is -3, what is f of -3? It is 3. What is f of 3? It is 3. For all the values, for all the negative integers, I get only the corresponding positive integers, and positive integers anyway get the same number. So the range of this particular function will be 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. It's all positive integers. And if you see the codomain of this function is z. So range can be a proper subset of the codomain. It actually need not be equal to the codomain. It always is a subset, but in some cases it is proper subset, in some cases it can be equal to the codomain. If f is defined like this, the range of this function happens to be this, whereas codomain happens to be this. Here range is proper subset of the set of integers. I hope you understand this notation. When I define a function f from A to B, I call A is domain, B is codomain, and range is set of all images of the elements of A. This is how we define range, and this range is always a subset of the codomain. In some cases it will be equal to codomain, in some cases it will not be equal to codomain. Let us take this example and to get some better clarity. Suppose I declare to you that f is a function mapping students in this class students who got registered to this particular course to the set of grades A, B, C, D, E. At this point, what is F's codomain? Obviously, domain is set of all students who registered to this course, and codomain will be definitely A, B, C, D, E, isn't it? What is its range? What are the grades that I am going to give all these students? I don't know. I may give all the grades running from running from A to E, or I can give only A, B, or I can give only C, D, E. What finally I give grades to you will not be known unless it is given to you. Hence, the range is known, unknown. What all you can say is that range can be any subset of A, B, C, D, E. That is what all you know. But actually, what is the range? You don't know. You can always say that it can only be a subset of codomain. Suppose I relax and say that, relax the condition and say that, suppose the grades turn out, I gave you grades and finally it all turned out to be all A's and B's, then the range of F is A comma B, and the codomain remains, of course, A, B, C, D, E. As I have been telling, all these operators, be it a binary operator, be it a unary operator, be it a trinary operator, all these things are nothing but functions. Say I have got natural numbers, set of natural numbers. How does the operator plus is defined? You take an order tuple in the Cartesian product of n cross n. You take 2 and you take 3, then the result will be 5, isn't it? This is how this operator works. It takes 2 operands and it operates on those 2 operands and you get a particular result. In this case, 2 plus operated on 2 comma 3 will result you 5. What here we are trying to say is, in fact, this is a function. How this can be a function? This plus is a function from the Cartesian product of n cross n to n. Do you agree? You take any tuple in this n cross n, you will be able to give a corresponding value to corresponding value in n. You take any tuple for that matter. 2 comma 3 is the tuple you take. What is the value that you associate to plus of 2 comma 3? You will associate a value of 5. This function is defined like this. Plus of 2 comma 3 is nothing but 2 added with 3. This is how I am defining it. So all the tuples in n comma n will be given a value in n based on the way that I have defined the function. So this operator can be represented by means of a function. And now say we have got a function defined from A to B, and an operator, be it any operator. In our case, let us consider it as a binary operator. A binary operator from B cross B to B. This is definitely a function here. This dot is a function that is acting from Cartesian product B cross B to B. When we are given these two things, then this particular operator is in fact operating on the set of all functions that we can define from A to B. Here what I mean here is, if I have got an operator like this B cross B to B, this is the operator that I am defining. When I have got an operator like this, then this operator is actually operating on all the functions that can possibly defined from A to B. How it is defined is, say f is a function from A to B and g is another function from A to B, then f of f dot g. This is what I mean by this operator being operated on these two functions called f comma g. How it will work out is f dot g of a will be f of a dot g of a. Basically f of a will be an element in B. Why? Because f is a function from a to b. Whenever f is taking a value from a, it will have its image in b. So this is an element of b, and because g is also a function from a to b, g of a will be an element of b. You have got two elements of b, so you can this operator is an operator that is working from Cartesian product of b cross b to b. So you can put this operator over here. So this is how you can define the binary operator across the functions from a to b if you know a binary operator that is acting on b cross b. Basically what we are saying here is, if you have got any operator over b, then this operator can extend it to denote an operator over functions. We will take an example and see. We all know plus or multiplication, these are all binary operators over r, isn't it? You take two real numbers, this plus operates on those two real numbers and you get another real number, hence they are binary operators. Now what we are saying is, you take any two real valued functions f comma g, because this plus is a binary operator on r, this plus can be as well an operator on the set of all functions that are running from r to r. How they have been defined is, f plus g is defined from r to r in this way: f plus g of x is equal to f of x plus g of x. This is how they are defined. Similarly f of f cross g, this you are able to do it because this plus is a binary operator on the set of real numbers. Whenever you have got a binary operator on the real numbers, that binary operator can be well applied to the set of all functions that are running from r to r. So composition operator, if g is from a to b and f is from b to c, then composition of f and g is defined by this: f circle g is defined as f of g of a. So if you have got a function from a to b and you have got any subset S of a, then image of S is defined as all the images, that is f of S, for each element in S. This is how it is defined. You take all the images of the elements of S with respect to the function f, then you get image of S. And we define a function f to be 1 to 1 if and only if every element of the range has only one pre-image. What I mean here is, if f is a function from a to b, it has been defined, we call it a 1 to 1 function if and only if the range of f that means the range of F will be definitely a subset of B. Range of element should have only one pre-image, or equivalently saying distinct elements in A should go to distinct elements in B. When you define a function, you can two elements in A can go to the same value of B, isn't it? That is very much a function. That is very much a function. Two values in A can go to the same value in B. We will do with an example. But before that, just get this thing. Two distinct elements of A can go to the same element of B. This is very much okay when it is any function. But for it to be an one-to-one function, distinct elements in A should go to distinct images. That is how you can write it like this. Distinct elements going to the same element in B is not okay. Not of distinct elements having the same image. This is what it is. Distinct elements having the same image is being represented by this. Not of this is distinct elements should go to the distinct images. We will do with an example. We will take this function, whether it is a one-to-one function or not. What I mean here is, this is your domain, this is what is your codomain. Say this is A, this is B, and each element of this is being mapped to an element of B. Then we will see whether they are one-to-one or not. This is one-to-one because every element here is mapped to an element here, and no two elements are having the same element as its image. Distinct elements here are going to distinct images, isn't it? Distinct elements, there are 4 elements here, they are all going to 4 different images. Hence it is called one-to-one. Or equivalently saying, what is the range in this case? In this example, range is this, and this. These 4 points are range. Every element in the range will have only one pre-image. You take this guy is having how many pre-images? Only one pre-image. How many pre-images that this guy is having? Only one pre-image. How many pre-images that this guy has got? Only one pre-image. How many pre-images that this guy has got? Only one pre-image. Hence this is a one-to-one function. Now look at this guy, this thing. This is again A here, in this example this is A and this is B here, and this is not one-to-one. You know why? Because there are distinct elements in A, they are being mapped to the same element in B. Hence it is not one-to-one. Distinct elements in A have got the same image in B. Hence it is not one-to-one. And if you see, this is not even a function. Can you see why? Because this is not even a well defined function, because one element in A, this is say A, this is B, one element in A is having 2 images, then this particular mapping ceases to be a function. It cannot be a function just because one element, this element is having 2 images in B. Hence it is not a function. So what we have got is, this is one-to-one function, this is not one-to-one function, this is not even a function, and we will see some sufficient conditions for this. If the function happens to be strictly increasing or monotonically increasing, then the function will be always one-to-one. what is strictly increasing function is, as the x values increase, y value also increases, fx value also increases, then we call that function as increasing, strictly increasing function. So when you got strictly increasing function, you can always say if x is greater than y, then it follows that fx is greater than fy. So if you got a, if say you got this particular function fx is equal to x cube, this is strictly increasing because this f function will be from set of real numbers to set of real numbers, and it is defined like f of x is equal to x cube, and this is definitely an increasing function, strictly increasing function. So it will be 1 to 1 because you take two distinct elements in real numbers. You take two distinct elements, say let the two distinct elements be a and b, then you can assume either a less than b or b less than a because they are distinct. You can assume either of the two. Let us assume a less than b. If a is less than b, because this function f defined by fx is equal to x cube is strictly increasing, f of a is going to be less than f of b by the very definition of increasing function, monotonically increasing. So what did we achieve? We have taken two distinct elements and their images that are fa and fb are also distinct. They are distinct because fa is less than fb. You have taken two elements that are distinct and their images also happen to be distinct, hence this function is 1 to 1. However, the converse is not true. That means that if you know a function f from a to b and somehow you know that f is 1 to 1, then you cannot conclude that f has to be either monotonically increasing or monotonically decreasing. That is what the converse of this is not true. But if you know f is monotonically increasing, then you can obviously say that the f is 1 to 1 function. Now we will see another kind of function, that is surjective function or onto function. We will say let f be a function from a to b, then what we know, the range of a, we can also write it as f of a. What is the range of a? All the images of a, all the images of a, that is what is the range. We have seen this range, that is fa or a, fa or r, the range is nothing but fa. This can be a subset of b always, that is codomain, that is what we have seen. And for a function for which the range will be equal to the set b, then we call the function is onto, otherwise not. Equivalently saying, if every element in b, if this element has got a pre-image, if every element in b has got a pre-image in a, then we say the function is onto, otherwise not. What does it mean? You take any element in b, say let b be any element, then you are able to find an element in a such that f of a is equal to b. if you can do it for all the elements of B, all the elements in B should have pre-image in A, then we say that the function is onto, otherwise not. We will do it with an example. Say f from R to R is a function that is defined by f of x is equal to x cube. Let us see whether this is a onto or not. You take any real number, say b from you take any real number b, then cube root of that real number is also a real number, isn't it? So every element here will have a pre-image in real numbers again. Hence the function defined by f of x is equal to x cube is a onto function. I take any real number b, then its cube root is again a real number, and the cube root of the real number b, when I apply my function on this cube root, I will get b. So b has got a pre-image in terms of cube root of b, and this is true for all the real numbers. Hence I say f is onto function. But if you define f of x by x square and f is from set of real numbers to real numbers, then this function is not onto. Why? Because I got -1 in set of real numbers. This -1 here is not having any pre-image. Square root of -1 is not a real number. So this guy is not having a pre-image in set of real numbers. Hence this ceases to be an onto function. Let us see these simple examples. You see, every element here is having a pre-image. This guy is having a pre-image here. This guy, what I mean here again is, this is set A and this is set B, and this is how I am defining a function. This is a well defined function because all the elements here have been mapped with some elements of B. Hence it is a well defined function. I am examining whether it is an onto function or not. This guy, this element is having a pre-image here. This element is having pre-image here. This element is having pre-image as this. This element is having pre-image as this. This element is having pre-image as this. So all the elements here are having pre-images. Hence this is a onto function. And let us look at this particular function. This is A and this is B. Here this element is having pre-image, this element is having pre-image, but this guy doesn't have a pre-image. Hence it is not a onto function. Let us look at this guy. Again here this is A and this is B, and definitely this is an onto function because this guy is having a pre-image, this guy is having pre-image as this guy is having pre-image as this guy is having pre-image as this. So all the guys here are having pre-images. Hence this is an onto function, and it is, in this case it is a one-to-one also. Why? Because distinct elements here are having distinct images. This guy is having this guy is having this, all the images of these guys are distinct. Hence it is both 1-1 and onto. Here this is 1-1, this is 1-1 because all the distinct images are having all the distinct elements are having distinct images, but this guy doesn't have a pre-image. Hence this is not onto. So that is how we need to do it. That is now how we need to check whether a given function is a onto or not. And we say a function f is said to be bijection if and only if it is both one to one and onto. If a function happens to be both, then we say it is bijection. The best example we have got here is this is bijection because it is both 1 1 and onto, and I hope you have no problem in recognizing what the function here is. This is the function, this is getting mapped to this, this is getting mapped to this, this is getting mapped to this, getting mapped to this. This is how you define a function. Yeah, in today's class what we have seen is what a function is and how the other discrete objects can be represented as functions. We have seen how a bit string can be represented in terms of function, how a set can be represented in terms of function, and what are different varieties of function. We have seen only few. I mean, what is injection, what that is one to one, what is onto, that is surjection, and what is bijection. Okay, these will lay down our these things lay down the fundamentals that we require in functions for our further studies in computer science. Okay, bye for today.